Alrighty, and welcome back to our next step in the series on using AI to help you in your writing, your creative writing. So we've gone over some basics on using ChatGPT. We've talked a bit about using random name generators. For example, I've been working on some different ideas, and this is for an island name generator that I was working on. So I've got an idea I had. I haven't really developed it at all yet, which is I just called it Revenge of the Axeman. And the basic idea was I had this idea of kind of a fantasy thing, a revenge story, maybe a little bit of martial arts, old school martial arts kung fu movie. The master has been murdered, must, avenge my master's death, sort of thing. So I've got some basic things here. The world name Mestrum or Mestum, nation is Crutuni. And this again, going back to what I talked about in the name generator, um, there's going to be a tendency when you do things like that, just go ahead and change it, Mestrum or Mestrom and Crutani instead of Crutani, because it's just you're gonna have a natural inclination to want to say words a certain way in your native language. So if there's something that you try to pronounce it a certain way and you find yourself wanting to pronounce it a different way, just go with the way that you're wanting to pronounce it, because that probably means it's going to be easier to say, and other people are probably going to read it that way as well. That's how things like the Berenstain versus Steen, that's how that sort of thing happens. Steen or Stein is a much more common Germanic ending that people are used to. So when you read something Berenstain, the inclination is to see it and read it, sorry, as Berenstein or Berenstein. So that's how that sort of thing happens. And the main character's name is Stoji Zine. I might change that to Zane, Stoji Zine, but that's not too bad. And the basic idea is just his master is betrayed and murdered. He's an apprentice to a senior mage, Basakani. Most of the apprentices are also killed. He's stabbed several times, left for dead, but he survives. He's able to grab a couple of his master's artifacts, and an enchanted axe and a pair of bracers that give enhanced healing. That's how he survives. He vows revenge. Uh, the Republic is taken over in a coup, which is part of this whole incident. He escapes into the Siamese forest. That is how I've uh, wanted to kind of pronounce that, Siamese forest that borders the Republic. So basically, this is all I have. So what we're going to do at this point, this is where ChatGPT comes in, is just say something along the lines of help me with some plot ideas building on this premise. Paste it in. And basically what it's doing, because ChatGPT has been trained on countless pieces of fiction and trope definitions and all of these things, is that it's going to look at what you've given it, this little blurb, and it's going to kind of cross-reference in its databases, and what it's doing is saying, thinking, basically, what are the key tropes, the story beats, the fictional outline pieces, plot points here, and how can I, again, how can it, but, you can kind of think of it as it's an AI. You can talk about it however the hell you feel like it. What it's doing, what is thinking, what are the ways that I can put all these things together and expand on them and do what this person is asking me to do. In this case, I'm asking it for plot ideas building on this premise. So again, it's looking at the premise and going, okay, there's these different plot points and tropes and things going on here. What would be some expansions based on similar fiction? So we've got right here the coup is a cover-up. The whole thing isn't political. It was to keep him from revealing something catastrophic. That's a possibility. That's kind of interesting. Artifacts aren't what they seem. Okay. The forest isn't just a refuge. Okay, that forest is something that isn't important. See, again, what it's doing is that it is looking at the various pieces you've given it, and if it isn't sure what parts of it are really important, it's going to pick and choose out little bits and pieces of everything you've given it and give you ideas, in this case, based on all of those bits, because it isn't sure what you're really wanting to focus on at this point. This is a multi-step process. The coup was partially his fault. That could be something interesting. There's other survivors. It gives some names, so we could go with that. Get a little bit of, you know, a bit of a group. If we want to go into a lit RPG, have some gaming elements in here, we could do that. Um, Master left him a hidden message. Okay. The coup leaders aren't united. I like that. The revenge changes into something else. That could be an interesting way to go. And then it gives us some possible uh, story beats and then some different twists and things that we could work with. So let's look through here and see what we want to keep and what we want to discard. So basically, yeah, this process of, at this point, you're using ChatGPT because it's free. It won't use up credits or anything unless you have a subscription to it. But I do not use ChatGPT for writing. I have said that at the beginning. I use pseudo-write, and I'll get into that later. But I'm trying to go through this process as a step-by-step sort of learning. So the coup is a cover-up. That is interesting. So it gives some possible secrets. The major public was conducting illegal planar experiments that risked tearing holes in other dimensions. Okay, I like that. This gives the coup more depth. So we could say that, okay, uh, the assassination wasn't just political, it was to keep him from revealing something catastrophic. And he discovered that the major public was conducting illegal experiments that risked tearing holes into other dimensions. Okay? So, the coup was plotted by the mages and technomancers conducting these experiments to prevent their discovery and arrest. So now we have a reason for the coup. The artifacts aren't what they seem. Okay, so the enchanted axe refuses to be wielded by anyone who isn't in mortal danger. Don't particularly like that. Grow stronger when in defense, not aggression. Maybe, but not really. I like it contains a bound spirit who speaks cryptically. I like that. I've always liked talking weapons. My book that I recent released, A Fistful of Fairy Tales, has a talking sword called Snarkblade in it. Uh, it is literally a snarky, sarcastic talking sword. So I don't. So the Axe of the First Covenant, I don't know about the name, but the Enchanted Axe, we can go ahead and say. We'll go ahead and hold off on the name. Contains a bound spirit, though, who speaks cryptically. That I do like. And the Bracers of Continual Renewal. That, I think, is a perfectly good name. I'm sorry if I'm popping the sound on this. Sometimes I talk really low, so I have the volume on the mixer turned up, and then sometimes I talk loud and it pops. So, damned if you do, damned if you don't. No. No. Corruption, no. I just wanted these to be kind of plot points. Maybe the axe doesn't need a name. But we can give them, kind of a Wolverine, Deadpool pool kind of drawback in that they enhance his healing to superhuman levels, giving him a form of regeneration, but they do nothing to stop pain. So he heals fast, and he has a magic axe that can talk to him, but the healing fast thing doesn't do anything to help him with stopping pain, so he can still be stopped. He is not invincible by any stretch of the imagination. Even though I don't want the forest to be a significant thing, we can add something to it if there's something here. No. Druids that don't like arcane magic, no. Whispering roots, enchanted trees, nah. Exiled mages, maybe. Or a fey court in the forest. None of those are really speaking to me. The coup was partially his fault. So, he's made a small mistake that had big consequences. Okay, so since his master was going to reveal a big secret, we could say that it may have been Stoji's fault that that got out, or maybe he simply brought in someone that he thought was a colleague of his master, perhaps someone who had visited him many times before, but that is the person who betrayed his master and killed him. So, we can go ahead and come over here in the random generator, and let's find an interesting name. Let's go with, say, Dark Elf names. say female just because we've got two male characters. Let's go with a female character. Rockneck. It's a little too close to Beck. Harashra. Okay, we can do something with this name. Rid of the eight. Rara. Rarashra. Rashra. Let's go with Rashra. Rashra. Rashra Shezro. Rashra Shez. Rashra Shred. I want to put another R in there. There's too many R's. Rasha Shezro. Rasha Shezro. That's better. This is why you need to sound out your names ahead of time, because it's better to find the rhythm, the cadence that's going to actually be something that people can read and pronounce when you're doing fantasy stuff. Was the female... Okay, let's go over here to another generator, and we're going to go to fantasy race names, and let's do elf in this one. And velvet elf, that's interesting. Velvet elf mage who betrayed and killed. So, Soji, Velvet Elf Mage, and Stoji is the one who led her into the tower. So now we have the survivor's guilt thing going on. That's a nice little bit there. So a survivor's arc. Um... So I don't really like any of um, the story beats here, but we can go ahead and take this part and say that there's other survivors. An illusionist who joined the regime pretending to be loyal while gathering intel. Now, actually, I do kind of like that. Again, sorry, I got a bit loud there. So, somebody who's working on the inside. Just a moment. Sorry, bit of a dry throat. I prefer just recording all in one take, and then I'm not big on editing either. I like to just kind of keep it flowing, keep it real. Although when I have a coughing fit like that, it's difficult. Sorry. Okay. So we might be able to do something with that. A geomancer who fled to the mountains and is slowly losing his mind to stone magic whispers. That I don't like. We can keep the geomancer thing fine, but the other part of it. Still AIDS, still G. And we might get... Let's add a romantic interest here. She is Stoji's girlfriend. Not even just a prospective love interest, she is actually going to be his girlfriend who survived the attack, but is now working for the other side. as a spy, essentially, but he doesn't know that at first, so that gives us some story potential there. Master left him a hidden message. Okay, we can do this, and we can use both of these. Just go ahead and copy this part here. Not necessarily for Stoji himself, for any surviving student. Students. Onto Stoji because of the artifacts. So that gives it a reason why it goes to him. So, magically hidden letter, only visible under not full moonlight, that's too easy. The right conditions, so we're bringing in a little bit of old school Tolkien style hidden messages here. And let's go with this Clockwork Raven thing. I like that. It's a nice little detail we can use. It's given to Stoji by a Clockwork Raven that Boscani. Okay. Coup leaders aren't united. Okay. Now we can still use this, but let's say that that Russia was only one of the coup leaders. The others are all other high-ranking mages that have their own agendas. We don't have to fill any of that out right now, it's just something to work on later. His revenge changes into something else. So let's just look through this. A strong character arc idea. He wants to kill every conspirator who murdered his master. Basic revenge plot. Learns that killing them won't stop the planar catastrophe, etc. Okay. Revenge becomes protection. My master's last wish wasn't for vengeance, it was to stop the threat. So Stoji has to choose, let go of revenge to save the nation, or keep pursuing revenge and risk doing everything. Okay, that's actually a really good character arc. It's simple, it's classic, it's been done, but it's a classic for a reason. And we don't have to stick with this. Of course, at this point, we are simply coming up with ideas. And then we come into some possible story beats. We have the opening with him crawling for blood, grabbing the axe, with failing strength as assassins search the room. It'd be both artifacts. His escape, first hunt. Endurance test. Vision. That doesn't really mean anything. Or speak to me. Form a friend. No. Capital under disguise, rallying survivors, forced allies, and sympathetic factions, maybe. Possible twists, he's not dead, no. Access the key to the sealing of planar breach, no. Coup is engineered by an external force, no. Stoji himself was the intended sacrifice. Killer's thought apprentice, no. I'm not the biggest fan of twists like that. Sometimes they're acceptable. A lot of times they're just kind of put on there so there's a twist, in my opinion. And there's probably in cinema especially, there's only one major twist that that I fully embraced as part of the story, and that's The Usual Suspects. They pulled that one off perfectly. But even things, The Sixth Sense, saw it coming. That one was okay. But even some of the darling twist endings, like Seven, I don't think the twist makes any damn sense. I think it completely throws the characterization of the killer out the window in order to have the shocking twist ending. And another one of Brad Pitt's, the Fight Club. That one has always gotten to me for a few reasons, but the biggest one is just in the entire time all of these events are taking place, not a single fucking person ever once says anything to this guy about there not being another person. Right there at the beginning. Why are you hitting yourself? Story over. And, you know, it just, to me, that completely kills the whole thing. The twist is not, to me, is not clever at all. It's just really weird, and I didn't really like the movie generally to begin with. Although I understand that a lot of people don't even understand that it is entirely supposed to be satire. It's not meant really to be taken seriously, but it's one of those ones that's always lauded for the twist ending, and to me, it's just somebody would have said something at some point. So, but whatever. For the most part, I hate twist endings. Another recent game that Obscura, or not, what is it, the Expedition 33 or whatever it is, the big twist in that one, to me, that's just another example of it was all just a dream. May not have been a dream, but close enough. Same damn thing in the end. But anyway, enough tangential, preachy bitching about twist endings. Basically, I'm just not a fan. I prefer to observe the KISS principle, which is keep it simple, stupid. A twist can be useful with moderation and care. But as I said, I feel that most twists are just put in to a piece of fiction so that there's a twist. The vast majority of M. Night Shyamalan's career is a perfect example of that. He got really popular off of a single movie that had a big twist in it, and so he decided that every single movie he made was going to have some big twist. And other than maybe, uh, what is the one with basically Bruce Willis as a superhero, Unbreakable, or something like that. That one's not too bad. That's the only one I actually didn't see the twist coming on that one. And it made sense. So that one I'll say was pretty good, but pretty much everything he's done since has been garbage. So, yeah, I've come to the end of the first iteration here. So, this video is dragged on long enough at this point, so I'll go ahead and do a part 2 where we'll take some of these bits and pieces and possibly uh, run them through ChatGPT again to expand on some things, get further ideas to build on, tweak things here and there, and just kind of keep rolling on this video's point, which is kind of showing you how you can use ChatGPT to bounce ideas off of, build out your plot, and uh, some of the other aspects of your initial getting going process, outlining, and we'll get into other things. So, thanks very much for watching. I will see y'all on the next one. Later.